So here's the scenario. You've just purchased your first hardware synth, got it home, opened the box, you're ready to make your Analogue magnum opus. But how the hell do you set this thing up? Don't worry, I've got you. Hey guys, Dilby here. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're talking about hardware, synths that is. I've got to be honest with you, I'm an in-the-box guy for the most part, but there is definitely a time and place for hardware. For some people, it's all the time. It's up to you. But if you're just getting into hardware, it's likely that you're going to hit this first hurdle where maybe you get something and you don't know how to set it up and how to get it working. So that's what we're going to look at today. If you're a dirty old synth dog with a giant modular rack, then this video is probably not for you. But if you're someone who's just dipping your toes in the water and wants to get up and get going, then stick around, because you're probably going to like this one. If you like the track that's playing in the background, it's a new one of mine. It's out now. There's a link in the description to Beatport and Spotify if you want to go and check it out. Much appreciated. So the two synths that I'm going to feature in this, which are the ones that I own presently, are the Behringer TD3 and the Korg Analogue XD. I've bought and sold loads of bits of hardware over the years, and most of them, while they're cool, they end up sitting collecting dust. But these two have featured on lots of my tracks. They both serve very different purposes, and they're both really fun and intuitive to use. I've put together a little kind of hardware sample pack with some of my favorite sounds from these synths, and we'll get into those in a minute. And as always, if you want to download the project files from this video, there's a link in the description to Patreon, which is one of the best ways you can support the channel. So let's get into Ableton and get these synths working, eh? Alright, so here we are inside Ableton. I've put together a wee project so we can try and use some of this hardware in context. Let's have a listen to how it sounds. Alright, so let's have a quick look through what we've got. A kick, sampled from a cool track. Video up here if you want to know how to sample any kick. I've got a couple of claps. I've got an open hat, a shaker, and a top loop. Shaker and top loop coming from Underground Shades of House Volume 2, which will be out hopefully early next year, but it's shaping up pretty nice. If you want to grab my current sample pack, Underground Shades of House, there's a link up here. It's a banger. Some percussion loops, and we've got a bass line. Cool, so what we're going to do is replace that with hardware, and then we've got a couple of synths. Cool, so we're going to replace this one with hardware as well. I don't have like a whole load of hardware, so we're just going to do a couple of things. Keep it simple. We've got a couple of vocal bits. So, simple groove, sounds good. You can download this from Patreon, link in the description. It's a great way to support the channel. What I'm also going to do is record out a bunch of like hardware bits, so there's going to be a bunch of samples in there. We'll check that at the end. So, first things first, we need to connect our hardware. So, I'm going to show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to need to connect our hardware. I've got here a Behringer TD3, which is a clone of the classic Roland TR-303. I've also got a Korg Analogue. Space is of the essence, so there's a stacked on top of each other for now. What we're going to need to do is connect the synths to the computer. We need power, we need connection to the computer. In this case, I've used a MIDI cable, which is connected to my audio interface here. My audio interface has a USB hub. So this sends MIDI over USB. For you, your audio interface may not have a USB hub. In that case, you would just plug it into any USB port on your computer. Then we need audio to go from the synth to the computer, or to the audio interface in this case. So I'm connecting the output of the synth through this cable to an input on my audio interface. The Korg Analogue is stereo. The Behringer TD3 is mono. So I only have one output for the TD3, but on the Analogue I need two outputs. Those are connected on the back of my interface, but I could connect them here to 1 and 2 on the front of my interface. So just keep that in mind. If you have a stereo synth, you will need an interface with at least 2 line inputs. The next thing we need to do is check that the synths can talk to the computer so that Ableton can find them. So I'm going to show you for the TD3, and all Behringer synths use this Synth Tribe software. It's not installed you just execute it and it's found the device. So in the software, you can select the MIDI channel that it's going to use, as well as some other basic settings of the synth. Every synth will connect slightly different, but these things are not really standardized. Every company has different software. Most of them are focused on making the hardware, not making the software, so a lot of it is not user-friendly. I'm just putting that out there so that you're aware. It's probably going to take some Googling. The manuals are generally pretty terrible, but good luck. You're going to need it. Okay, let's get in and actually get these things going inside Ableton. So what I'm going to do is create a new MIDI track, and I'm going to go to Instruments, External Instrument. I'll drop that on here. Now we select from this MIDI 2, I'm going to select the TD3 for our bass line, and I know for the TD3 I use MIDI channel 3. I don't want to use MIDI channel 1 because that's what my Ableton Push uses and my Minilab MIDI keyboard uses. So I want it to be separate. I want it to have its own MIDI channel so that the signal is only going to that device. So in Audio From, I'm going to select channel 1. That's the mono channel that we plugged the TD3 into. And now let's play some MIDI and hope. Okay, so I just copied over this bassline pattern. We're going to have to pitch it down a little bit. So Command A, I'm going to hold Shift and press down, maybe 2 octaves. I've got this gain. That's great. Cool. So now we've got our little acid riff. We can automate it on the TD3. Basically, we're going to have to record this. So what we're going to do, create a new audio channel. In this, we're going to hit Command Shift I to show the inputs. Audio from track 19, external instrument. We're going to hit monitor record here. We're going to turn off the output. And on here, I'm actually going to remove these. I'll just copy them over here because we basically want to get the raw signal so that we can then manipulate it. It's not going to record any of these sends, we'll just hear those. Okay, so let's go ahead and record this bass line on the TD3. We're going to do a long pass of audio, and then that's going to be chopped up when we're actually arranging the track. So we're just going to kind of get a bunch of variations in the audio, and then that can be edited as we need in the track. Okay, so that'll do. So now we've got our audio recording here of that pass we did, all the automations in there as well, and have a listen back to it. All right, sounds good. Now we've got a little problem here with the level, so we just need to always keep adjusting our levels. On here, obviously, I've got the kickstart and the compressor again. Then we can add back in our reverb, and we can use this to mix it into the track. What we can do in the arrangement is find little sections that we like. It's always good to record a long take of audio, so we can find a little section that we like to kind of use for each part of the track. Cool, and there we go. Obviously it's a different flavor, it's a different synth than we've used here. Now let's do the same for the Korg Minilogue, and I'm going to add an external instrument device. I'm going to select here Minilogue XD sound, channel 4, input from channel 5 and 6. Now let's copy across our MIDI and hope for the best. We can add on our effects. So I've just got an initialized patch here, but we are now working with the hardware. All right, so on the Minilogue XD, I've just got the initialized preset selected. Actually not a bad sound, but let's just flick through a couple of presets. Fantastic, I love this one. I've used it in a few tracks already. So let's go ahead and record a long pass again of audio. I'm going to tweak the parameters and then we can cut them up and use it in the track as audio. So recording. Cool, we should have plenty to work with there. So here we go, we've got our synth pass here with all our different automations collected, and we can apply our effects to this. We can hear the Minilogue actually is a bit more advanced, as I said, and it has some delay and reverb on the patch, so we probably want to be a bit more subtle with that. It's a cool synth and it's a great value. You get a lot for the money in comparison to some other hardware. Cool, so that's how we can connect hardware to our computer and use it inside Ableton Live. As you'll notice, the workflow is a little bit more involved than just throwing in a plugin, which is why personally I often just reach for a plugin. They sound so good these days, but it is a different way of working, and there's definitely something said for having the kind of tactile, hands-on feel of manipulating a synth. Often come up with things that you wouldn't otherwise. I've got a small space here, so I tend to control the MIDI from the computer, from the DAW, and then just manipulate the synth. You may enjoy playing the synth yourself, so a keyboard module might be something that's more up your alley, but this is what works for me. And as I mentioned at the start, I've gone through and recorded some of my favorite presets from the Minilogue XD. If you download the project from Patreon, you've got those. They're all in the key of A# minor, which is this project file, but they can obviously be pitched. Let's have a quick listen to a couple of my faves. Nice. These are dry as well, so when you add a bit of reverb, it's so good. Anyway, I'll let you discover some more of those. Let's have a quick look at the bass. That's what we've got already. Nice. So there's some cool stuff in here. Nice analog warm sounds for your productions. Alright guys, there you go. Hardware. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. What bits of kit are you using? What tips have you got for the rest of the community who are starting to get into this type of thing? And if you're looking for something to watch next, then check out this. I think you're going to like it. That's it for me today. I'll catch you next time. Peace.